There it is.
There we
are
are.
now unmuted officially.
Woo!
All right, here we are. Let's just talk. We do this every single Tuesday. Hopefully you guys are having a great time, waiting for some great conversation here. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. Hopefully we can fit it all in. But we do this every single Tuesday. We're not journalists. We're not scientists. We are not doctors. We're not surgeons. We are not politicians. We're just three guys getting together, trying to talk through some of the things that happen in the world, in this nation, through a biblical worldview. Some of the things it's really hard to, because some of the stuff don't make no sense, but either way, we are here, and appreciate you guys just watching us and viewing us. Here we are. Tino's here, brother Tino.
What's happening? How's everybody
we're not
doing?
We're not even people. It's
Angel.
It's AI.
We are AI. We're not even here.
You think we are.
All right, guys. So
Thank you, brother.
yeah. Oh, there it is. Empty Tombs. Shout outs. Also, Lisa, Duran, Carrillo, and Diana Rocha, American Chicano, and Carl. Carl is on here also.
Carl!
All right. So,
I wonder if Carl knows why we do that way.
Carl, do you know why we do that? I'm just curious. I don't know if we ever said why. So, hopefully more people are going to be jumping in, and many of you, because I think this is going to be a great episode. And you're right, Empty Tomb for the Wi-Fi. Enchanted Threads 14, how you doing? Empty Tomb, thanks for the Wi-Fi. $5, yeah, because that's how we pay our internet. Any and all super chats, whether it's through Bible study or this podcast, helps us pay our
bills.
$160 Wi-Fi here at the church. As you guys know, Wi-Fi.
He said no.
Oh, Wi-Fi is really important. Justin, can you YouTube Rick Grimes, Carl, and maybe find a 30-second thing so we can finally know what it is? He goes, I figured it was a movie.
We're going to show you, brother. We're going to show you.
Yeah, so we have $160 Wi-Fi. This church, this whole church, Wi-Fi is a huge part of this church because we live stream so much. So that's why the super chats do that. Why is it so much? Because of so much need. Having internet is cheap, but being able to upload live stream, that's expensive. So go ahead.
Carl!
Yes.
Carl!
So Rick Grimes does this a lot throughout the show. He's always calling out for Carl. There's some videos that are like 2 minutes, just him saying Carl over and over throughout all the seasons. That's why we say it, brother.
You're famous.
But yeah, a lot of people don't know that having internet is cheap because most internet is download. You're going to watch Netflix. You're going to watch something. But when you have to go live, your upstream has to be super fast. And if you really ever pay attention, upstream internet for most people in their houses is not very fast. Upstream is also for gaming. If you want to upload and you need a quick upload, but being live stream is really important for us to have a fast upload. So anyways, that's why it costs that much. And that's why we use the super chats, $2, $5, $3. That's why it adds up, and
We
we're
appreciate
able to pay
it.
the internet. So thank you so much. Anyways, all right, yeah, Carl is his son. What do you want to talk about?
Well, Tina, you want to kick off your story? I'd never heard of this until you brought it up right before.
Well, first of all, there's two parts of Newsom. Justin, you got that video? Oh, that's not it. That's Christ Unbarred. Here we go.
California Governor Gavin Newsom actually corrupt? Let's break down to see how he managed to buy a $9.1 million mansion on a $242,000 salary. If we were handling the mortgage, the down payment alone would be $2.25 million and probably another $20,000 to $30,000 just in closing costs. At a rate of 6.625%, the monthly payment breakdown would look like this. The principal and interest payment on the loan would be about $43,000 a month. Property taxes at $9,500 and homeowners insurance at $2,500 a month, bringing the total to $55,000 a month. To qualify for this, he would need an annual income of $1.5 million. But if he had other income that weren't on his tax returns, we could explore bank statement program. But in reality, the property was purchased through an LLC, much like his past property. And of course, this raises the question, who's funding these? Comment the word on the screen if you want to explore a bank statement loan.
So I got sent that video probably a couple weeks ago, about a week ago or whatever it may be, right? And I was just really tripping out, man, because, you know, his auntie, his tia, right? She's into, what is that called?
Nancy Pelosi.
What is that called?
Whose dad was a mob boss.
What's that called though when you're, you know, the inside trader?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? So she's a great inside trader.
Hey,
You know
stop
what I'm
accusing
saying?
her.
Allegedly. I'm sorry,
Allegedly.
yes. Allegedly, she's an inside trader, and her and her husband do a phenomenal job.
Did you know she got number one?
For trading?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read something along.
Yeah, she hit number one for 2024, and they were like,
Yeah.
"How interesting!"
I mean,
that she can, you know, be in Congress and all that,
Everyone.
but be above everybody by leaps and bounds above everybody else.
Every professional.
every
stock trader.
professional that's a stock trader.
Yeah, professional.
And you know what's crazy is the percentage of people in Congress that are in that top 100 of people that are doing that are in Congress.
yeah.
Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
And a bunch of them are getting thrown under the bus by the DOGE.
Yep.
And so anyways, man, again, that got brought to my attention. And anytime I could throw Newsom under the bus and let people understand that dude is just a piece of trash, I'm all for it. And I mean, how are you affording a $9.1 million home on $242,000? And, you know, we obviously.
Talking about his new one in Napa?
I believe that's where it is, yeah. And so we obviously don't know exactly what the numbers are that he makes or what he is, but we do know that your auntie and your married-in uncle was a mob boss. And so we know that you got some little crooked. I could tell by your little sway of yours and your little feminine hairdo and all that kind of stuff. And your...
Can somebody see if there's any on Amazon any Newsom wigs? I'm asking for a friend.
So, I mean, that was just one of the...
Three of them.
That was just one of the things that I wanted to talk about with Newsom.
It is this, doesn't he?
He does all of that fun stuff.
With the
But,
maracas?
so, just we really need to keep our eyes open and understand, that what's going on is just all bad. And we do understand that. But this was a fun article that I found out about scum. I'm so sorry. I just accidentally hit it. So it says right here off of Newsweek, right? So I only read what I wanted to read because this is a left magazine. But the title is California to negotiate trade with other countries to bypass Trump tariffs, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, what are you doing? Look at the picture of him.
Yeah.
See him with his little hand gestures? He's like this.
Yeah.
So anyways, it comes over here and it says that almond exports were valued at $4.7 billion in 22, supporting 110,000 jobs and contributing a 9.2 to California's GDP with 76%, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But right here on X, I wanted to read this of what he put on X. I had it all prepared and it just disappeared.
Hey, read Adam's comment.
Keep it as a man more.
He said, "I'll go get his actual wig if you want." Oh man, you're gonna go straight scalping on a scalping mission.
He said, keep it as a memoir. Like the
Like
first
the
kids of the
Philistines.
Philistines.
Instead of 100, I'll give you 2. Man, like I said, dude, I just had this. Right here. It says Gavin Newsom said in a video posted to X, Donald Trump's tariffs do not represent all Americans. And on behalf of 40 million Americans that live in the great state of California, the tentpole of the U.S. economy, 14% of U.S. GDP, the fifth largest economy in the world, the dominant manufacturing state in America, our state of mind is around supporting stable trading relationships around the globe. And that's why today I've directed my administration to look at new opportunities to expand trade and to remind our trading partners around the globe that California remains a stable partner. So, I mean, in a biblical form, right? This is direct disobedience to authority, right? On the second part of it, dude, what are you doing? For one, dude, you're on a podcast. You have time. I said this before. How the heck do you got time to
Is he continuing his podcast?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm speaking out of pocket.
I know Michelle Obama was like, nobody's watching.
I thought they were conglomerating together.
Oh my God.
Newsom
Dude, maybe they're both watching it and that's what's keeping it going. So, but then the other thing is too, is like, man, you like fix the homeless thing, bro. Like, I don't even want to get into the economy here. Fix the homeless thing. You got millions and billions of dollars and done nothing with it, dude. But now you are over here talking with the big dogs and they're looking at you like a little putt that they're just going to come over and kick to the side. I'm sorry, dude. Like you are a nobody.
I mean, is there even a reason for him? I'm talking about his selfish side to help fix America. He's on his last term. He can't be governor again. So is that laziness on his part? Because obviously there's nothing more to do for him in California to do anything because there's no reelection. So he has his eyes focused on the presidency, right?
Well, I mean, he can mess up California more, but
is that possible?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is the legal precedent for him to be able to do that? And opening up California, what's it called? Docks.
Yeah.
For when it doesn't make any. I wonder how that works. What can he do and can't do?
Yeah.
I just don't understand why you would go ahead and go around it. Like,
yeah.
Well, I do understand, for the fact is that you are brainwashed to not like Donald. And obviously, dude, like, if you were really about not liking the guy, then you shouldn't have met with him. Like, let's just be real. Like,
when he got off the plane?
When he got off the plane and you were over there kissing his shoes and stuff like that, dude. Shining them with your hair because it's so greasy. Like, it's just, what are you doing, bro? You're a two-faced chump. And it's just what it comes down to. Like I said before, I got nothing nice to say about this guy. And you are just ruining, like it says, the great state of California. I've only lived here, but I mean, where else can you go that you're 2 hours away from anything at max? You know what I mean?
I have a question. This is going to make us think, because I don't know the answer.
Okay.
So imagine, I remember I heard a preacher one time say, he goes, you know what? He goes, I'm glad I'm not the president of the United States. This is years ago. I'm talking about 20 years ago. He says, because here as a pastor of the church, I know that my congregation is pretty much people that believe in Jesus, and we're going to apply and live the Bible, and we're going to learn the Bible, and we're going to preach out of the Bible. He goes, but when you're the president of the United States, he goes, you are the president of the Christian, the Muslim, the atheist, the this, the that, whatever. He goes, the net is so huge.
Yeah.
So my question is this, is at this point, because there's so much polarization in California, can any governor really truly come and say, I'm going to help California, regardless of what you stand, what you believe, or this and that? I have a feeling you can't. Can you? Because if you were going to say, be friendlier to the Christian church, then this side's going to get mad. If you're going to Muslims and that, you know what I mean, all the way around. Yeah. So it's like, at this point, do you just cut? Is it to the point in politics where you just pick your side and you're just going to have enemies because there's no middle ground anymore? There's no, I'm going to be a politician for, because even when you have a president saying, I'm going to do things that are going to help this nation, people still hate you.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you referencing just like California? I'm
saying California can. Yeah. I'm talking about Gavin Newsom's done. He's on his last term. So whoever comes, there is no middle ground. It's either this side's going to hate him or this side's going to hate him. Or am I wrong? I mean, can somebody really truly come into the state and say, actually, I'm answering my own question, because if nobody can come and say we're going to make America great again. So can you imagine somebody trying to come and say, let's make California great again as it once was, as it was the jewel of the United States. This was the state everybody wanted to live in. Can that ever go back? And I have a feeling that people won't like that.
Well, they won't like it unless it fits their terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's the problem because California is so vast. Like if you go, you know, if you come in Central California, it's a very different environment than Palo Alto.
Yeah.
You know, or Berkeley.
Hello, Phyllis. Yeah.
You know, and if you go to Fresno, that's a very different environment than Anaheim.
So what do you do?
Orange County.
Yeah. So what do you do? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. That's why I'm not running for governor because I don't.
Wasn't Gavin here in Modesto Saturday?
Was it this Saturday?
This last Saturday, I think he was here.
I think I know it was.
Yeah, Sharon
Really?
had told me something. I was driving, and she's like, "Do you know Gavin was here yesterday?"
He was
I
here
think it was
for
on,
like the workers or something.
on her
like
way
that.
to church Sunday morning. She was kind of scrolling, and she had said, "I think he was here yesterday."
like 209 times or something.
I don't know. I don't know where I didn't ask her where she got it from or whatever. But I'm just like, man, if I was gonna run for governor, no matter what, people would hate me. Even if I try to just make it to where it's fair for Californians to make the state better again, because every choice is it's a cause and effect.
Yeah, and that I was thinking about this past week was media, like in 2016 when I had never really heard the term fake media, fake news.
It's interesting you bring that up because I think that's the true enemy here. But anyways,
Yeah, and so I remember, and you and I would talk about this because I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I didn't vote for Hillary, but I didn't vote for Trump. And but I wasn't paying attention either. I wasn't captivated by it.
yeah,
In during that time, and I remember hearing that term, and it didn't dawn on me until I caught the wind of what was happening, and then I was like, okay, now I get why he's saying fake news.
yeah.
And it's interesting because the collapse of the news is happening in front of us as far as mainstream media. That's happening right now. But what that has left is a void and segmented news briefing medias on the internet.
Yeah.
And the thing is, algorithms are putting us farther and farther apart. Because you're only going to get hit by algorithms of what you watch unless you're specifically looking
Your
for something.
Instagram and Facebook look the way they look because they know that's what you like and that's what's going to keep you coming back.
Exactly. And I think that's where California's stuck. And I'm sure it's not just California, but I think that's creating more and more of the divide because your algorithms are going to, bring up. I don't get liberal media on my phone
Me either.
or my laptop, but unless I'm looking for something specific.
I have 3 Instagrams. One is for the boot line. And if I go and scroll my Instagram, guess what I see?
Oh, yeah, I know.
A whole bunch of boots.
Yeah.
I have the church one, and then I have what's the other one? I think the cycling one for cycling. Guess what's on that? A whole bunch of cycling stuff. So I think that's happening to the Republicans and Democrats, to the left and the
Exactly.
right. And it creates this like blinders.
Because I have 2 YouTube channels.
Yeah.
One I view as far as sermons and other like podcasts or political views. The other one I just watch sports. Like if I want to watch highlights of different things. So guess same thing. Guess what I get in each one, and I think in California even more so. I'm just saying maybe more so because maybe that's not a true statement. Maybe it's all across the board, and I'm sure it is. I just think the divide is getting more and worse and worse because of algorithms.
Yeah. So who's the true enemy here? I think media plays a huge part. It's dangerous because here's the downright truth to the whole thing. Is if I owned MSNBC, if I own CNN, if I own Fox, my ultimate thing is to keep my company going. Yeah. And the only way to keep my company, if I own a newspaper, if I own a magazine, I'm going to talk about the things that are going to shock people to keep you watching my channel. Yeah. If it polarizes people, if it victimizes
your
people,
base,
if it makes somebody the bad guy, I'm going to do what I got to do to keep you coming to my channel. And here's the thing. They all realize this, so it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And in essence, I'll be honest, man, there's a lot of times with Trump in the beginning, I did vote for him in the very beginning. But I remember people saying, oh, he's racist. But I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the clip. I watched the whole speech, and I remember, okay, even let's fast forward. I saw it live when Elon did the thing with his hand.
Yeah.
I saw it live. Dude, everybody knows that he's kind of off, socially. Everybody knows this. And it's like, but I remember seeing it and I'm like, they're going to use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes, they put a picture of it and they said that he's a Nazi and this and that. I knew it was going to happen. I have heard people on the left say things. And I'm not a leftist, but I've heard them say things in the full context. I'm like, Fox is going to get that.
Yep.
And what did they do? Fox did it. And I knew the real context of it. And it wasn't as bad as, honestly, I'm not on the left, but it wasn't as bad as Fox made it look.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes money.
Because it hits the base. It hits,
Yes,
it hits their
that's
viewer
just the
base.
honest truth of it all. So, I mean, the thing is that you and I, this is why do you think the Bible says to have discernment? Mm-hmm. And it's like, ultimately, what is God telling you? Because if you are not hearing the voice of God, if you are not in prayer, if you are not seeking the Lord, how many times we just read it in Hosea where God gives a warning to Israel. And he says, you go chase after Egypt and you go chase after Assyria to help you out. He was, instead of crying out to me, instead of calling out to me. And that's the same thing. So many Christians, man, I'm not going to say I love. I find it interesting and fascinating, politics and all this and that. But you know what? You better put it in its place and not make it your God and not make it your run to. This stuff is interesting and it's crazy, the things that are happening in the world and all this and that. But when you start making that the voice you're listening instead of what God is saying to you, you're going to get twisted up no matter what. That's what I think, And
but the political platform hasn't changed. Look at in other words, look, it's media, but then it was Absalom sitting at the city gate. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? I mean, those games have been played since the very beginning. The only difference is the mechanism in which it's going out. But all those games have been played. All those, it's just it's the routine, it's the cycle of it, it's the ongoing, and it's the corruption, it's manipulation. Now we have media, but then they had just conversations, word of voice, and you were meeting at the city gate. You were having those conversations at the synagogue.
Yeah.
And all those different things. And so, but now we got to me, like when you were asking, what hit me was algorithms.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you're looking at starting a business, what are they going to tell you? What's your niche? Mm-hmm. You want to start a podcast? What's your niche? What are you trying to hit? What's your focus? And in that, because that feeds the algorithm. And in that algorithm, that's how it distributes out. And so I don't know, the more and more we get in this social media, I don't know how to correct that divide.
Yeah, it's creepy, man. Yesterday, I stopped off in Tracy because I had a meeting in Dublin. Me and Sharon met with a couple that were going to marry them in a few months. And I wanted to meet them for the first time because they'd watch us online. But I'm like, I'm not comfortable meeting you on the day of the wedding. Let's have lunch. Anyways, on the way back, stopped off in Tracy. And I stopped at a store, Marshall's, but it happens to be by Boot Barn and PetSmart. This is how creepy it is because Facebook, Google, all of it know that I'm an aquarist. Mm-hmm. Because over the past years, I look up fish and aquariums and this and that. And it's like because Google saw that I was next to PetSmart, guess what ads start popping up as I'm in Marshall's? I'm waiting for Sharon to look at something, and I just, I'm just sitting there bored like all men do when women are shopping. And I start seeing all these fish. And I didn't catch it till right now because then when we left, you know what I told Sharon? I said, I think I'm going to add some more fish to my tank. Dude, I fell for the okie doke.
Gotcha.
And she goes, no, not right now. My head hurts. And I'm like,
Or you would have.
I would have, dude. Look at that. Look at the power of suggestion.
Yep.
That is crazy. You know?
What is that?
That is crazy. And Boot Barn was right next to it. And I'm sure there was ads, but that's crazy to me.
So they fed you 2 or 3 of your hooks.
That is
see which
creepy,
one,
man.
See which one you would bite.
Look, Empty Tomb goes, they watching. They're here. That's a trip, man. And
That's crazy.
We have no, dude, they spend millions of dollars studying the way we think.
Have you guys seen Social Dilemma?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I haven't.
So
You
check that out.
haven't?
No.
Check that out.
Social
because this is a documentary. If you guys have never seen Social
Can you
Dilemma.
bring up the trailer for that, Social Dilemma on Netflix?
Social Dilemma is exactly what you're talking about. And
Yes.
Social Dilemma is a documentary, and it's about an hour and 40 minutes or something like that.
Yes.
And it's all from people who have worked on these media platforms.
Yeah.
And all of them. And at the very end of
It's
it.
on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. And at the very end of it, I have to say this, is not one of them allows their children to get onto social media.
Yeah, and
None of them.
these are people in it that
That-
were founders or worked with the founders
creators
of these Facebook, all of them. So, guys, this is your homework for the week. If
you find
haven't
it,
seen
Justin?
Did you find it?
You got the
Okay,
trailer?
go ahead, play it.
When you go to Google and type in climate change is, you're going to see different results depending on where you live and the particular things that Google knows about your interests.
That's not by accident, that's a design technique.
What I want people to know is that everything they're doing online is being watched, is being tracked. Every single action you take is carefully monitored and recorded.
A lot of people think Google's just a search box and Facebook's just a place to see what my friends are doing. What they don't realize is there's entire teams of engineers whose job is to use your psychology against you.
I was the co-inventor of the Facebook like button.
I was the president of Pinterest.
Google, Twitter, Instagram.
There were meaningful changes happening around the world because of these platforms. I think we were naive about the flip side of that coin.
We get rewarded by hearts, likes, thumbs up, and we conflate that with value and we conflate it with truth.
A whole generation is more anxious, more depressed.
I always felt like fundamentally it was a force for good. I don't know if I feel that way anymore.
Facebook discovered that they were able to affect real-world behavior and emotions without ever triggering the user's awareness. They are completely clueless.
Fake news spreads 6 times faster than true news.
We're being bombarded with rumors.
If everyone's entitled to their own facts, there's really no need for people to come together. In fact, there's really no need for people to interact.
We have less control over who we are and what we really believe.
If you want to control the population of your country, there has never been a tool as effective as Facebook.
We built these things and we have a responsibility to change it. The intention could be, how do we make the world better?
If technology creates mass chaos, loneliness, more polarization, more election hacking, more inability to focus on the real issues,
We're toast.
This is checkmate on humanity.
Wow.
I hadn't seen it.
So the thing about it is they're all, like they said, you see how they named off all the social media, and that's who they worked for. And you know,
These are the designers
He came
talking.
up with
Wow.
the
That's
like
crazy.
button, and they came up with this, and they came up with this because they figured out all kinds of things about how the mind works. That if you throw it out there, leave it for, you know, I think it's a 3-second. I'm sorry, like a 1/10 of a second or something like that. I forget exactly what it is. Don't quote me on that. If you know exactly what the number is, then let us know right now. But it's like the flash, right? And one of the prime examples I like to use in that is there's an artist and his name is The Weeknd. He's a singer. And at one of his concerts, in the background screen of everything, what happens is he flashes while everything is going on and all the strobes and all this stuff is going on. He flashes like just real quick, Satan. And it's like, what's the point of that? Because now the mind is like, yo, what's that? And then it triggers it. And that's what social media does. And so obviously they're listening. I mean, you can go back to watch Snowden. Snowden is another great one.
MK Ultra. MK Ultra.
Yeah, you can go back and watch like that. You can watch either the documentary, you can watch the movie, but these are the things. And so when you walk around with your Bluetooth on, you're pretty much inviting the government to be able to listen to anything that you want. You want to turn them off, turn off your Bluetooth. You know what I mean? But how connected are we to in-ears or whatever it may be? You know what I'm saying? So the thing about it is it's very, very scary. Yes, the social media, and that's why I remember during elections, that was one of my topics. I was like, dude, we got to talk about media manipulation, because in Southern California, it was all Kamala. She is the one that's for us. And we came up here, and all the farmers are like, man, heck no, man, we need Donald.
Yeah, so Empty Tomb says, tell me why I'm getting ads for cat food.
Yeah.
When I don't have a cat and I'm allergic. I don't know, Adam. That's scary. Maria Madrigal, TikTok is a perfect example. People fall for the shopping bait. LOL, I do not have the app. Healing Flow, how is YouTube any different? It's not any different. They're all in cahoots. American Chicano says, I went to school for computer tech. We took a class on the psychology of social media and technology and devices, the addiction that comes with, and the psychological effects and the propaganda. Sounds like a really interesting class. There's no such thing as a secure line of communication unless you're real savvy on network security. They can still track your habits. I believe that.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
you can't get away from it. So it's like, the thing is to be conscious of it, to know it, to understand it, that when you see ads like that, you know what's happening, because you can't stop it. Or what's the alternative? Live in a cave? You know, so I think it's just more of being conscious of what is happening here and the agenda. So every news channel is putting the stuff they're putting for a reason. That's just the way it is, you know, and we got to understand that, you know.
Understand that news is a market.
You know what's crazy? Here's I remember when they were saying, remember the whole thing about pork, the other white meat. Do you remember that, or are you too young?
Never.
Because the meat department for pork was going down, so they created that. Same thing with what else was there? Milk does a body good. The mustache commercial, that was, dude, there's reasons, because that market wanted to instill it in your mind. You know what I mean? So, I mean, everything, people don't make commercials for free or for fun. There's a reason behind it.
The Super Bowl, look at how much you got to pay. I think, what was the price tag this year?
2 million, 3 million?
Oh, I thought it was like 8.
I don't know. Either way, the KFC commercial?
But think about it. So the commercial, TV is actually, the programs is the commercials that's paying for the free viewership of the other things.
Yeah.
You know, the commercial, you know, and like the commercials are louder than the shows.
Yes. I hate that.
I know. You know, you might have it at a 20 and it's a 25 decimal volume, whatever, on the commercials. It's crazy, just because the more and more, like I said, I don't know, and this is not I don't think it's a California phenomenon. It's a global phenomenon. Yeah. Because like I said, and it's separating society, you know, and like for instance, let's use a Bible story. Remember when Joshua and they went and they fought and they lost in an AI, not AI as far as AI today, Joshua. They went and they fought at I don't know how to pronounce the city, but it was AI.
Oh yeah.
Right. And they found there was sin in the camp.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then they found out the guy that did it and his family, and they killed his family and everything else. And people are like, you know, that's such a horrific, you know, atrocity, that why did they have to kill his wife and his kids? Well, they were all in cahoots.
Yeah.
Because in today's society, we don't understand the definition of community and the need to protect community.
Yeah.
And you know, and protect that. Because right now we just live in algorithms. Everything is in think tanks, you know, stuck to themselves, even theology. You know, we stick to think tanks. People are afraid to just have conversations and everything else. And it's just like, when you're bringing that up, I'm just thinking, man, how do Lord, you're gonna have to come. You're gonna have to fix this.
It's just practical thinking, man. Like, okay, YouTube, the suggested videos. YouTube could care less about what you're interested in. They don't want you to leave the YouTube app. So they're going to suggest things that they believe through the algorithm, through your previous history searches, things that you have watched. They know if you watched a video for 30 seconds or if you've watched a PBD video for 3 hours. They know all of that stuff. So they're going to suggest videos because they don't want you to make dinner. They don't want you to go wash clothes. They don't want you to cut your lawn. They don't want you to go to Facebook. They want you to stay on YouTube because the longer you're on YouTube, the more they can push their ads. The more they can push their ads, the more they have advertisers. They're going to spend money. Mm-hmm. So those suggested videos are their best guess at keeping you there. Facebook, same thing. When you pay for ads on Facebook, let's say I do a website on Facebook and I want people to go to my Facebook. Here's the thing. Facebook will boost my ad, but if it says, what do you want it to do? Do you want it to go to your Facebook page or do you want it to go to your website? Mm-hmm. Okay. They don't like that I want them to go to my website because technically, why are they going to have an ad that is going to click the person outside of Facebook?
Away.
They'd rather keep you in Facebook. So if you're going to put an ad, you're better off sending people to your Facebook page because then they stay within Facebook. Why would anybody do that? Why would Walmart, convince you to go to Target?
That's like somebody standing in front of Taco Bell before you come in and go, hey, are you really want tacos?
You sure you want a taco?
Yeah. You don't want a burger?
Yeah.
So I give you some great suggestions. That would be a great idea in case you just really want something else besides a taco.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that.
Yeah. Dennis says, I'm aware of this, but I think it can even track your thoughts. What do you say? Because I get advertising on things I don't talk about or put on the internet or social media and get advertising on things I'm thinking, I knew you were going to say that. Not just playing. Television tells lies. Edward Bernays, father of public relations. He helped the trend with pork for breakfast and women smoking. Empty Tomb says, almost like a business.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's a good segue into media manipulation on tariffs.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I was just. Well, we were having a conversation, before, and me and Tino, we were talking, and we agree, but kind of like, how did the conversation go, Tino?
You were saying about how we're going to see bumps.
Oh, that this year was going to be bumpy financially.
Yeah.
And, if those of you that track your 401ks or your investments, I've definitely seen my 10 or 11% tracking, hit in the, last few days. And I was just saying, because in the nature of business of where I'm at, as far as the conversations we're having in the construction world, they're expecting a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. They are expecting a return, and they're very optimistic of what's coming. But in the meantime, and I was just saying how, it was due to tariffs, but not in the sense that I'm against. I voted for Trump, so I wasn't blind to the fact that he was going to do tariffs.
He
ran on
it.
That was his campaign. So that's foolish of me if I'm going, man, what is he doing? Dude, I voted for that.
Yeah.
And I've heard some Christians, I've heard different people like, well, but we're going to pay more. Well, but if there's not a course correction, it's kind of like the real estate bubble that took place during the Bush administration.
Yeah.
There's got to be a busting of that because my kids can't afford homes. My kids can't even afford rent to go and pay somewhere right now.
Stuck with them forever.
And that's why I'm praying for these tariffs to work.
Got him.
Just saying, pray for me. But no, and so I see that hit, but I see them, we were talking about the media side of what they're pushing and the fear, and I'm looking, and I feel bad for people that are retiring right now because they just did take a hit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel bad because I'm sure that they were a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got $1 million or 1.2 million, you got hit 10%. That's a bigger chunk than what I got hit. But what I got hit still was a chunk in that. It still hurt.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking long term for my kids. I'm thinking long term. I'm 47. We'll recoup that in no time. I'm not worried about it. But just where the media is in trying to push this agenda and this narrative of fear, the world is collapsing, and what's crazy is how many people have, out of American citizens, how many of them have money in the stock market?
One of the things that, my question is in that what you just said is how many people know that they can get to the stock market? And you don't need to be a day trader, or you don't need to find which one is going up. You don't need to pay attention to NASDAQ. You don't need to pay attention to all of this kind of stuff. But how many people actually have the education and the knowledge? That's my question.
I don't.
And you know what I'm saying? And like, that's what I'm all about, that learning of it. And I would love to educate people on it. You know what I'm saying? That's where it would go for me. But what is it called? Fear
mongering?
Yeah, fear mongering. And that's the biggest thing. So today and yesterday, when it comes to these, the tariffs and everything right now, is what the word that I heard already is depression, right? They're already they're starting to throw that in the head. And so like the joke with me is don't go out there and start buying up all the groceries. Don't go to Costco and start buying all my Charmin. Please leave me some Charmin. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what they're doing.
Yeah.
And this is where they're leading them. And this is exactly what they're trying to do. Because then if they can go ahead and put the fear in you, they know exactly what they're doing, because they almost mastered it with COVID.
Yeah.
And so now all they got to do is just take the same kind of thing and put it into this. Let's just be real about it. We're talking about tariffs, right? And we're talking about the media manipulation in that. Right?
Yeah.
This is something that has been brought back. This isn't something brand new that Uncle Donald created. But the thing about it is we were talking.
It was already in the dictionary. It was one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary, right?
I mean, I think that's verbatim what he said. So the thing about it is we need to remember that when we get into new or something different, like we were saying earlier, it's going to be scary. You're going to hit the bumps.
Yeah.
The problem is like the media is taking full advantage of it while they're down. Like I think I've said the media are like commentators, right? Well, they are commentators, but I mean for sports, guy shoots a three, Curry shoots a three, right? Splashes, comes back, shoots another three, splashes. He hits 3 in a row. They are going crazy. The commentators are going to say how great Curry is, how this, right?
Then he goes 0 for 5.
And then he misses the next one. And then he is, his career is over. You know what I mean?
He's old.
Like his ankles are going out.
He's 37.
You know what I mean? He must be having trouble at home with his wife.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but then he splashes another 3, and oh my goodness, man, how is he doing this at this age? You know who? I'm not gonna get into it. I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not gonna get into it. But the thing about it,
you gonna bring up LeBron or what?
I'm not even gonna mention that name, bro. I'm not even gonna mention that, dude. So, but they're fear mongering when it comes to these tariffs. And the thing about it is let's have faith. Who said that? That was
George Michael.
George Michael, yeah. George
I was
Michael.
gonna say the Bible, but
No, wait, man. George Michael said it better. So you gotta have faith, and that's exactly what it is, man. So like, don't allow the media to. We're talking about how it's manipulating. There's a full-on movie how they studied. American Chicano was saying that he took classes. There is things that are out there for a purpose to manipulate your brain. Don't allow it. Do the research.
Yeah.
Do the research.
we were talking earlier, and I was telling you, just especially in American culture, it's the guy is he's doing the rat race. The girl is trying to be a boss babe, and it's all of these convoluted things, and it's all this stuff, and it's racking up credit, it's racking up debt, it's getting the house with the white picket fence, it's living the dream, it's getting, having a vacation spot and a vacation home and all this stuff. And I'm not saying if you have things, those are bad. I'm not saying that either. But I think in Christian culture, we got lost in that. And I was reading, if you go to Titus 2, well, let me just read, I'll read this real quick. Where's it at here? I had it ready. Here it is. Titus chapter 2, verse 3 and 5. This is Paul, and he's talking. And he's telling, first he starts off and he says, older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers or slaves to much wine. They are to teach what is good. Verse 4, so train the young women to love their husbands and children. Be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind, submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. Likewise, urge younger men to be self-controlled. Show yourself in all respect to be a model of good works, and in your teaching show integrity and dignity. And the reason why I brought that up was because within all of the fabric work of culture and society and money and degrees and all this stuff, the Bible is pulling it back to go, guys, we lost track of the simplicities of the things in which we should be having. And the fear-mongering is able to get a hold of Christian culture because we believed those lies.
Yeah.
We believed the things that we needed to have. We lost track. I'll say this. I don't want to ruin this for anybody, but the last episode of 1923, there was a statement that was said by a mother that blew me away. Have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm watching it. I won't ruin it because, man, it was just such a good statement. And she said, I got to say the statement. She said, any mother that would give the life away of her child is not a mother at all. And I'm just thinking, in today's society and culture,
mm-hmm.
It's backwards.
And that's why they put it there.
Exactly.
That's why the director put it there.
Exactly. And the fear side, that's the part that bothered me. Those Christians are afraid. And the church doesn't know how to have faith. We've lost track of faith. We understand the term.
And spines.
Yeah. And I think they're, I heard somebody, I think it was Dr. Summerall. He said faith has an attitude. When faith is lost in the church, all we have is hope.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping for everything, but hope breeds into faith if you allow it to what you were talking about, be fruitful.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're thinking about media manipulation, the tariffs and all this stuff and fear mongering, and what bothers me is the church is in that realm.
Yeah.
And so we've got people that are running to things, and it's like, hold on here, young ladies, do you not think of a family? Do you not think of home? Husbands, are you not thinking of how right now, if this is a great time to invest economically, you know what this is a great time to do? Restructure your life and restructure your priorities. This is a great time, Christians, to do that. Because you know what? In essence, it's forcing us to.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great opportunity if we take it.
I'm not going to sit here and say understand everything about tariffs because, I get it. I get the gist of it, but I mean like the deep background and this and that. But there's some practical things that make sense to me. When people are saying, oh, now the tariffs, now everything's going down and the economy's going down, this and that. There's some practical things I do understand. For instance, I remember one time I got hired at this job, and their inventory was all over the place. They didn't know what they had. They didn't know what they needed. It was a security company for home security. So there was things like wire. There was sensors for windows. It was a whole warehouse. And I worked at a temp agency. So they came in and said, we want to hire you for, I think, 3 or 4 weeks, you and 2 other people, to make sense out of this warehouse. Create a numbering system, figure out what we got, because we have no idea what we have. So for that month, that business suffered, but it had to be done.
Yeah.
Because the moment the month passed, we numbered everything, give everything its own code, knew what we had, how many we had, what we didn't have. Then after that, the business, boom, shot like a rocket. But it had to be done.
You mean like spring cleaning?
Yes, it had to be done. So in the same way, I'm going to bring this back to ministry. I remember a pastor, this was a few years ago, and we were having some trouble here at House of Rest. This is a couple buildings ago, And
so it's none of you guys.
yeah, it's none of, don't freak out. I ain't talking about you, you know.
Maybe.
And I remember calling the pastor saying, I don't know what to do with this situation because, unfortunately, you know, it's supposed to be a big family. Don't feel like such a family right now. And he goes, what's going on? I said, well, this is going on with this and this and this. And he says, you know, David, he goes, sometimes there's a time to grow. Sometimes there's a time to prune. And I'm like, what do you mean? You know, and he kind of just basically said, listen, he goes, pruning is important. Pruning is so important. Matter of fact, you have to prune a tree in order to get more fruit. And I said, but some of these I consider my friends. And he goes, are you sure? Mm-hmm. Are you sure they're friends? You know, and it was just a long conversation. I don't want to talk about the whole conversation because that's not pertaining to my point. My point was this. He says, David, I've been doing this for 45 years. What you're telling me right now is a crucial moment in the life of this church. You know, he goes, just because somebody's your friend doesn't mean they have the same vision as you. Who said that just because they leave, they can't be your friend? He goes, if you own a burger stand and they want to eat tacos, what do? They're not my friends anymore? He goes, they want something different than what you serve. He goes, that's all right. That's okay. He goes, but don't hire them if you're making burgers and they want to make tacos. It made sense, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, many times pruning is important. And then I said, but it's going to empty the church out. And he goes, watch, mark my words. He goes, what's going to happen? He goes, you're going to prune. He goes, I'm not saying to run people off. I'm just saying you do what God told you to do with the vision God gave you in his place. Don't let nobody hinder that.
You mean you didn't walk in with the whip?
No. He goes, so just do it. He goes, that's what I mean by pruning. I'm not saying like, hey, get out of here. He goes, no, that's not. He goes, what I'm saying is if God gave you, did God give you a vision for this church? Yes. Where? Solitary confinement. He goes, so are you following that vision? I said, yes, to the best of my ability. He goes, so this situation, these problems, is that hindering the vision? Yes. He goes, then keep doing what you're doing and prune it out. He goes, and what's going to happen? He goes, people are going to leave. He goes, and for a month or two, you're going to see your complete, your what is it when people show up? Your attendance. Your attendance is going to suffer. He goes, but you know what? It has to be done. He goes, and this is what's going to happen. He goes, if 10 leave, watch, God's going to bring 40. He goes, I promise you, David. Mm-hmm. And I followed his advice. 2 buildings later, we're here. Mm-hmm. And, and obviously there was some grit to what he was telling me. There was some skin in what he was telling me. There was some experience in what he was telling me. So I can see that in the smallest level of working at a warehouse and watching what I did and being in the ministry and watching what it did, then I don't have to completely understand the laws of tariffs, this and that, but it's the same thing on a huge scale. Obviously, the economy's in a drop right now. Obviously, all that's, but if I've never ran a country, but it's the same principle, and if it worked, then it should work now.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I completely agree, man. You know what I'm saying? Faith is not an easy road. Faith is very, very difficult. To grow faith is even more difficult, in my opinion. It's really great. It's a great word to use. It's very easy to say, completely different to live it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we got to do right now with these tariffs. You know, the way I look at it is you were saying something earlier about people would just get mad, even like no matter who comes in, right, to California as the governor, they're going to get mad either way, right? There's that word fair again. I hate that word. That's one of the words I hate the most in the English language.
I told you that's where pigs get judged.
That's right.
At a fair.
That's all it's for, man. And then you can go ride a ride or, eat
a corn dog.
Yeah. And so the thing about it is like hey, man, look at what we just got done with in the last 4 years. Never once did we hear anything of the last administration. As obviously, Carl's going to hit me on this one if I'm wrong, right? But the thing about it is like never once did I hear anything of them doing anything for the greater purpose, or
Yeah.
even attempting to do something for the greater of America, the United States of America, right? As far as I know, they did absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, they put us into a position even worse than what it's been ever, really. You know what I mean? And now he's doing something, and now people just hate him. It's just like I was telling you. The thing about it is like I never heard of weather conditions, right? Climate change until Donald Trump became president. You know, the weather didn't exist, and it didn't start getting bad until Donald Trump became president. And that's exactly where it is. Like you said, Angel, it's completely correct. I knew what I was voting for. I knew what was going on, but I think you hit it right on the head, bro. It's just like, take advantage of the things you don't know at this moment and get educated on it. Go learn something. Take a step. Take a leap. Jump off the bridge, bro. Hey, man, skydiving is a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Especially when that parachute opens.
I'll never learn. I'll never know.
I'll take your word for it.
But the thing about it is like, you know, it's cliff jumping is another thing. Go do it, you know? And so that's where we're at right now with Donald. You know, he opened up something that he is very, very confident in. And if you've trusted nothing else about, I don't even want to use that word when it comes to Donald. If you've seen Donald in action as a businessman, in what we have known our whole lives, we've all established that our whole life we've known who Donald Trump is. And obviously the guy knows what he's doing, right? And so what's the mob dude that has a podcast today? He got locked up, did some time. He has a podcast in today's life.
Francesi?
Yeah.
Michael Francesi?
And you know, Francise's or something.
It's a good channel.
Yeah. So listen to what he said about Donald. Like when he was like, man, we tried to buy him, man, not once, not twice, but multiple times, and he just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, obviously the dude has some type of character, because Mike doesn't seem like the type of dude who would front for.
You're gonna trust the real criminal, right?
Yeah.
You know who's telling the truth, or you're gonna trust CNN?
So the thing about
making
it
up
is
stories.
like, okay, yeah, right now, hey man, I gladly lose 10% of my retirement to gain 90.
Oh, absolutely. And
You know,
like
so-
what we were talking about earlier, and I was saying, I said we're going to hit some bumps in the road because of tariffs. I'm not saying that tariffs are wrong, and I'm not even saying that the tariffs are the reasons for it happening.
Yeah.
Because the reality, and I like what you were saying earlier, Tino, what we're feeling is all of those years of bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All of those years of corruption, to where I'm like blown away, because I'm looking around at what Trump's trying to do and the administration is trying to do. I'm like, you mean we could have done this at any point in time?
Could we equate that? Let's go back to the warehouse job I had for a month. Could we equate that when they hired us to fix that warehouse, that the workers blamed us for business slowing down?
Yeah.
Like it's their fault. And I'm like, no, dude, we're the solution.
Yeah.
This has to happen in order for your business to. But can you imagine some people saying it's their fault? That's why we're not selling security systems, right?
Yeah.
So you're blaming the person that's putting the tariff when he's just trying to do the best he can to try to get things right.
Yeah, because tariff didn't do, since Nixon went off the gold standard, all those things.
Well, if tariff is so bad, then why do all the other countries tariff us?
Right. That's my
Exactly.
whole argument, dude.
Right?
So all my
So tariffs are bad. Why is China tariffing?
Why?
Why is everybody else
Why?
tariffing, right?
But why is it bad for us?
Why is it exactly? Why is it bad for us? Because people don't want to work. Look at what American Chicano says. He says, bet half these media puppet journalists didn't know the Tariff Act of 1789, signed into law by George Washington in 1789, supported by Alexander Hamilton, first U.S. Secretary of the
Alexander
Treasury.
Hamilton.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, that's just it. They're called Trump tariffs. I just call them tariffs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be real about it, bro. I didn't know about these until a couple years ago.
I've heard the word.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know,
I just didn't know.
But you know what I did? I was like, what are tariffs? I got this thing called Google, and I looked it up. And you know what I did? This is another thing I love to do. I love to read what's bad about it, too. I love to read what both sides have to say about it. I want to know why you hate it. Because if you can, it's just, I think I've said this before, especially during election, was just pay attention to why they hate him so much.
Yeah.
That made me like him even more.
I did the same. I like to hear why people hated or didn't want Trump. What was annoying a lot of times when I was actually looking for legit reasons why people didn't want him, it was all just name calling.
I couldn't find not one.
It was just name calling, or
he's mean.
Yeah, or they
He's not presidential,
or they built it off of clips that they saw that CNN put out. And I'm like, no. I'm trying to find a real reason because I don't want to get blindsided. Let me see the other perspective so I can see this in a 360 degree. And trust me, it was really hard to find legit reasons why people didn't vote or like him. And I really wanted to know intellectually instead of the name calling, instead of and a lot of the times it resorted back to just whatever CNN showed.
Yeah.
You know, real quick. El Hermano says, Brother David, would you brothers ever get Brandon Tatum on the pod? That'd be awesome. I'd love to have Brandon Tatum. I'd love to have Pastor Mark Driscoll.
Yep.
I would love to have a lot of people.
Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know if we're just like not even a little speed bump in their, in their view. But man, there's a lot of people we would love and enjoy to have on here.
That's just the whole thing. And today, like they were talking about tariffs at the press conference. And the thing about it is I've said the exact same thing to different people. If tariffs are so bad, why do the rest of the world do it? Yeah. And why did it become such a problem when Donald wanted to increase it? It wasn't that there weren't tariffs already here in the U.S. It's that he said, wait a minute, dude, this is what you're charging us? Well, how about we bump up and we start charging you a little bit more? And then it became oh my God, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And so it was like.
I actually heard that exact accent.
Real quick, car stuff, I agree with you. I don't like politics in the church personally either. Anybody, you can ask anybody on here, is politics or politicians ever mentioned in our Bible studies or sermons? Never. Actually, I won't even answer that. I'll let anybody else that watches answer that. We have 13 years of YouTube videos, so that's a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of content. I'm very confident in that. But, on our Tuesday episode right now, it's just three guys talking. The way we kind of just talk, this is the way we'll probably talk in our living rooms. Because right now I'm not ministering, I'm not preaching, I'm not doing Bible study or any of those things. So, at the same time, though, I believe, like for me, I can't speak for Angel, I can't speak for Tino. I try to see things in a perspective, that as a Christian, nothing wrong with saying, well, this is why I think this or this. I'm just sharing my opinion because none of us are journalists, But that's why we have these conversations on Tuesday, because this is the only time you'll ever me personally, here as a pastor of this church, hear me talk about politics or anything like that, because the pulpit belongs to Jesus. There's no other name. I don't care if it's Trump or Biden. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the Queen of Mars or the King of Mars. It doesn't matter. The only name that's going to get exalted behind that pulpit is Jesus, and that's it.
Amen.
Well, but here's the other thing too, though. To that is, if you're gonna, there's one thing to talk about. I'm not going to necessarily bring up every current cultural political issue.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is necessary. And sometimes things need to be addressed. And the scriptures do not shy away from that, because there is a lot of political conversation.
Yeah, because I won't
in the scriptures.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because for instance, you can't tell me I can't preach against abortion because that's political. No, that is
exactly.
That is murder. I'm going to preach about marriage. I'm going to preach what marriage is according to the book of Genesis. So in that sense, yes. I'm not going to, because here's the thing, is I don't like the world picking and choosing things in the Bible and saying, oh, that's political.
Yep.
No, dude, that ain't. That is godly or that's ungodly. So in that sense, yes, heck yeah. I will always preach against abortion. I will always preach against what marriage is and what it isn't. But I'm talking about literally going up there and saying, vote for this or vote for that, this person, specific politicians. That I won't do behind the pulpit.
But he, and if you did say, okay, tariffs are here. Okay, let's get some faith. Let's get some grit. Mm-hmm. Let's move on. In that. And the other thing too with the tariff side of it, and this is the part that I'm like you guys. I don't know. I mean, I've watched videos. I've watched little things here and there, read whatever I could. But here's the other side to it that I don't understand, that people don't grasp. Before World War I, there was an arms race. And the arms race, it bubbled into, for the assassination attempt, or the assassination of, what was it, an Archduke? Franz Ferdinand. And then that exploded. That was the spark that ignited World War I.
He got smoked.
Yeah. What is happening right now is it's not necessarily an arms race. It is a trade war that's leading to an arms race, because whoever has those finances is building right now.
Yeah, because they learned from World War II. You're not going to go into a war broke.
Exactly.
They learned. Look what Dennis just said. Read it.
The tariffs got unfair after World War II. That was the U.S. way of helping out. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And see, this is what you have to understand. So when you're going, I don't want to pay more for maple syrup. I don't want to pay. Look, I get that. None of us want to pay more for anything. Yeah. But there is some things that need to recalibrate, because right now it is a trade war that is possibly leading to something very destructive down the road. Mm-hmm. And what people don't understand is that in the surface level, I don't know what Trump knows and doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at it from a guy sitting at a table in a church in Modesto right now, with my perspective and our conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at it and I'm going, Trump realizes that.
Yeah.
And he went and said, if I don't throw these monkey wrenches in, what is going to stop China?
Yeah.
What is going, and you can sit there and go, you can complain about all you want. And you can complain about America shouldn't be the police. And I agree. But if there's going to be one, I would rather it be us than them.
So there's different things on the press conference. I believe that I heard that there was 70 countries that have reached out within the day, the 24 hours of Liberation Day, right, which was last Wednesday.
Yes.
And they've already have wanted to reach out and start negotiations, right? I also heard, again, I know I'm going to get hit on this if I'm incorrect exactly right, but there is a minimum 10% no negotiate. So every country will definitely be hit with 10% tariff. He will not go any lower than that. Vietnam is one of them. It says just had a very productive call. General Secretary of whatever party of Vietnam, who told me that Vietnam wants to cut their tariffs down to 0 if they are able to make an agreement with the U.S. I thanked him on behalf of the country. The United Kingdom has reached out. Japan has reached out. The Prime Minister of Israel has already came and met with him. Cambodia's commerce reached out to the U.S. representative, Jameson Gear, with an offer to cut tariffs on more than a dozen categories of U.S. goods from 35 to 5%. They want to cut theirs from 35 to 5%. Now, it doesn't.
So that's what they're coming. You're saying that's what they're coming to the table with.
That's what. Okay, so because of what I'm reading, it doesn't give me the exact if they're saying, hey, instead of us charging you 35%, we're going to charge you 5%. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It says Trump announcement last week hit Cambodia with a 49% tariff. I do know this by that little chart that he had. It said that Cambodia was hitting us with a 97% tariff, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So even if they dropped it down to 35, bro, that's still a dub. You know what I mean? Thailand is another one. India is another one. South Korea, Australia. Look, here's that picture. Argentina hit another one. Who was a big one? 97%. Switzerland was hitting us with the 61%. India was hitting us with the 52%. Switzerland was hitting us with the 72%. So the thing about it is, you see what he's doing? Canada talking all their stuff. You know what I mean? And look, they're over here already looking at it. Mexico, Switzerland, Malaysia, Europe Union. All these people are coming like, wait a minute, man. We do need you. We do need you. I was telling my son, see, these people are starting to understand that their number one sold goods are American-made goods. You know what I'm saying? Over there, and they need it. And they're like, yo, what's going on? And the thing about it is like and Caroline was saying that that President Trump was saying, we are talking with everybody, that he got his negotiation team and told them, this is what you're telling each country. He said, this is the lowest you're going. We're open for a negotiation for everybody. And he said that if he doesn't get it, I guess China is the one that's trying to play hardball. And that he's like telling them, okay, well, I think it's tonight, midnight tonight, that if you don't give us a call and, throw something out on the table, you're going to get hit with, I think it was like 187% or something like that tax.
I don't know.
Yeah. Or tariff, I mean. So there's a lot that's going on. But see, like, how come the media isn't telling you about all these countries who are calling back to negotiate?
Yeah.
How come you're not letting us know, the rest of the world know that, you know what, man, the other countries are willing to work with America and they do want to all get along and we all want to be able to make money all around the world. Why aren't we hearing this? But we're hearing the fear mongering saying, oh, look at what it's doing to our economy. Look at what it's doing to this. Look at what it, be scared, everybody. Go buy toilet paper. You know what I mean? And that's what's really driving me crazy with this.
I remember when I went to buy a car, and there was a particular car I wanted to buy. It was at a Kia dealership in Manteca, and I went. I liked it. It was a good mileage, but I needed the price to be lower.
Yeah.
And so I asked him. I said, "Would you be willing to lower that price by $1,800?" And he said, "No, you're not going to find a car with this mileage, this clean, and all this stuff. It's the car that Angel has right now."
No.
And he said, "You're not going to find it." And so what he didn't know is I already had a loan, right? And I was trying to get it under that so I can get the loan. So I can get the car because I already had the loan set up of what I wanted my payments to be and all that stuff. So once he told me that, I said, okay. And I walked and he was like, you're not going to take it. Hey man, it's a great car. You're not going to find it. And I said, all right, no, I'm good. Went home, got on the internet, looked around, printed up 3 pages. One in Modesto, one in Vacaville, and the other one like in Hayward. Went back there to him and I said, hey, here's the price. Look at the mileage. Here's the date. Right now, if you sell me this car for $1,800 less, they're lower than that. I'll take it right now. He gave me the car.
Yeah.
And then, I already had the loan. So it was a quick sale. My point in that is, who in the world is not going to try to negotiate for a better price? Who's going to go, hey, that's really bad. How dare you do that?
Yeah.
You do it for homes. You do it for cars.
Do it for clothes.
You do it for your insurance company. How many times have you traded insurance companies because one is giving you a lower rate than the other? Mm-hmm. You do it for credit cards. You turn it in and cancel. Well, I'm transferring over this card. Why? They have a better interest rate. This bank gives me a better interest return. And it's like, dude, we do it all the time, but yet, in this scenario, we don't, why is it so wrong to do that? It's just wise to do that.
Jeffrey Garcia, how you doing, brother? I see you.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Brother. What's happening, Jesse? Jeffrey? Sorry, sir.
Wow. I don't know. The fact is this, we can say everything we want, but it's going to do what it's going to do, and nothing we can do to stop it. We're just conversating about it.
Man, I'm on the wave, bro.
You're on the wave?
I'm on the red wave.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ride it, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, this is where we're at. This is what we're going through. Again, I have more hope, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word. In this administration to see my pockets grow than I did in the last administration.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for my children's pockets to grow.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm looking for something, again,
my neighbor's pockets to grow.
Yeah, straight up. I want all my grass to be green. I love the saying, when they say, did you use this on Sunday? The people say that
about the grass is greener.
The grass is greener than water your own grass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, stop worrying about stop worrying about somebody else's grass, bro. Why don't you water your own, bro? So again, I like taking advantage of situations, especially when it doesn't look good. Like, okay, God, what am I learning? Show me what I need to learn. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's about me. Sometimes it's about my children. Sometimes it's about His people. And so that's what we're going to do, man. We're going to learn some lessons. We're going to put some money away. My third son, he received a grant for a welding grant. And the first thing that he did was come home and says, "Hey, Dad, I want to
All right, Brother Jeffrey. Thank you.
open up a CD." And it was some type of investment. And I said, "You know what, man? Why don't you take that $5,000 and hold on to it? You're going to be 18 in a couple months. There's a whole lot of other things that we can do for you with that $5,000 that'll set you up for the future." And he was like, "For real?" And I go, "Yeah, off 5,000, man."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Okay, cool." So I said, that's what he's going to do. He's going to grab that grant. He's going to put that away, leave it in his drawer. When he turns 18, we'll do something for him. You know what I'm saying?
You put $5,000 in the bank. What are you going to get out of it in 20 years?
Yeah. Nothing.
It's going to actually depreciate because of the fact that inflation is going to keep going up.
Exactly.
So that $5,000, technically you'll have $5,000 and some change of interest, but in actuality, because of inflation, you'll actually be able to buy less than today with that $5,000.
Absolutely. The way and hey man, if you don't hate me for saying this, but this is the way I look at savings accounts in life today. The savings account at a bank today is like the man that was given the coin and put it in the dirt.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You were not. He even said, who was it? The master. The master said, if you would have at least did this, the interest alone would have been more.
Yeah,
right.
he did.
So you think that word interest was put in there by accident? Pay attention, man. Interest is very, very important, and the longer you can leave it there and it compounds, hey, man, the more it makes. So, anyways, man, that's one of the things that.
But that's gospel math, brother. Compound interest.
Compound interest, right? Yeah, dude, and that's faith, right? So I'm gonna continue compounding this faith, bro, so that way the interest of it continues. Growing.
Ron Garcia, how you doing, man? Shout out. God bless you, brother. Thank you for joining us.
So that's what it is. I'm gonna sit here in this. Like I said, I got more trust in this administration than I do in the last one.
Yeah.
Let's just keep rocking. You know what I mean?
No, I agree, man.
I mean, how can I not, right? I mean, shoot,
it was horrible.
I really didn't expect my year to be going the way it's going, bro. So I mean, I better jump off the porch. Empty too, you know what I mean? So I'll jump off the porch. I'm ready to go, man. It's been a long time since I jumped off the porch.
I think we got like 15 minutes left. Do you have any more things you want to talk about?
I did have one real quick we wanted to touch on, which was Doge's investigation on members of Congress and their net worth.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I want that to happen because it doesn't make
I think it
sense.
should.
How are people, public servants in Congress for their entire career? I think they max out at $250,000 a year, something like that. How are they multimillionaires now? I think that's important. I mean, I get it because technically you can invest that money and build it and maybe buy houses, but it has to make sense.
Yeah.
If you took that $250,000, say, I'm going to live off $100,000 and take $150,000 for the next 5 years and invest that in houses or invest it in, it's going to make sense why you're a multimillionaire. But if it doesn't make sense, where'd it come from?
Exactly. When you deposit a large amount of money in a bank, they don't just take it. They ask where'd it come from.
Yeah, exactly.
So where'd it come from? What's so? And that's the weirdness of the sensitivity of just our society. It's like, why is it so wrong that we just ask questions?
Yeah, can't we ask?
Yeah, where'd it come from?
Yeah, the bank can ask me where it came from.
Yeah. Bro, you can look at my bank statements. I'm not tripping on what you're gonna find. Why? Because I ain't hiding nothing. It's like at all.
When it bothered me, if you would have asked me, when I was selling dope.
Exactly.
That's when it would have bothered me about where my money comes from.
You know what's funny? And Tina, I know you know this situation. I know both of you know this situation. When people have come to you, let's say marriage counseling, right? And they're wanting to sit down, and then it starts getting into the finances and the economic side of their life.
Yeah.
And they're struggling through this, right? And it's always interesting that they're always willing to bring up that issue until you ask them one thing. Hey, bring your bank statements. Let's go through your bills. And then they never show up again. Because nobody wants to admit what they're spending on. Nobody wants to take responsibility for the things in which that they have loose control over. And they don't want to be able to walk through with somebody because there's shame, there's whatever those things are.
Yeah, I think I single-handedly keep Loca Mocha in business. That's what I think. I think they should give me a sponsorship, just saying. That's a
commercial?
A commercial plug.
But you experience that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Where people are like, all of a sudden they're like, well, but you know, it's like, dude, if you can't afford 12 subscriptions, you know, I'm not telling you never to watch nothing, but if you can't afford 12, why you got 12? If you can't afford a $900, $1,200 car payment, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just in the fact of struggling, because you can go month to month and have faith and it come through. Or you can complain about it all the time, and then when it comes to having to take responsibility, it's like, no, I don't want to do that. Yeah. And those are two different things.
Like the person that buys a really expensive car to fix, and they think they can afford it because they can afford the monthly.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you can't even afford to get that oil change in that car. Do you realize how much that's going to cost? Like a BMW or Mercedes.
Or it's like you just got kicked out of a place, and the place you're trying to get costs more, and it's like, well, I'm believing in faith. Well, then what happened to your faith 30 days ago? Why'd you get kicked out? How come you didn't pay rent for 9 months? It's like, dude, seriously. You know, and there's another thing called faith, and there's another thing called stupidity and ignorance, and just a lack of responsibility.
Yeah.
And those are two not the same things. You know, but I don't even know how we got off on Congress. That, you know,
Yeah.
But just taking responsibility in that, and it's like if our finances as a country, and it's a big business, you know, Trump's looking at it as a big company. If there's things that are going off wrong and we're spending too much in that, why is it wrong to ask and look into it? There's nothing wrong. That's just wise business.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's because it's Uncle Donald, man. That's why, dude. It's because he called somebody who is not another. I think I said this. He called another non-politician in to look in on the politicians.
Yeah.
I tell you, dude, just like he's doing with RFK, just like, you know, he's getting these people. I think I've said this on here. He's getting these people who don't want government money. They make their own money. They've made their own money. Well, maybe not RFK, but hey, man, I ain't hating you, bro. I'm trying to create what your great grandfather did. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning that.
Even RFK, because I've heard there's some rumors floating around about him or something. You know, with some another woman and pictures, whatever. And here's the thing, bro. I wasn't in support of RFK joining it because of his moral values.
You weren't?
No. I wasn't, as far as him joining Trump and it wasn't his moral values that I was looking at in the sense of his relationships with other. Do I think Trump can be brash? Yeah.
He's a New Yorker, man.
Can I think he can be maybe even a jerk? Sure.
He's a New Yorker. That's normal for New Yorkers.
Yeah. If you've ever been in New York, dude, go ride the subways and go take the escalators and see how they talk to you, dude. It's crazy.
I'm good.
You know, but my point is this: he's not my pastor. I didn't look at RFK, and so Christians are looking at it and they're like, well, but there's sin in his life.
Yeah,
and it's like, dude, he was never claiming to be something, and I never put him in that place to be.
I just want things to get better. If it was a beaver that was president right now, if he made this country better and made things better for the average person,
I'd vote for the beaver.
You know what I mean? Whatever it may be. You know what I mean? That's ultimately my thing. I don't care who does it. I don't care who it is. And as long as it doesn't hinder my freedom of worship and doesn't step over children and try to destroy children, I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter to me. It could be this guy right here. It's Kool-Aid Man. You know, and I'm not tripping on that. So that's my thing. Is what's going to make quality of life better for the average American.
And like empty
Absolutely.
tomb. My kids.
Yeah. And our children.
Yeah, our kids. Absolutely. And if I got to go through a rough patch, Dave, how many hours would Dad work sometimes?
Yeah, a whole lot.
A whole lot. Why? So we could have an opportunity.
Yeah.
So America forgot about that.
Look what Empty Tomb says. I literally don't care if they can help fix our country. As a single dad, I can't afford a house, and I want my daughter to be able to. Yeah, brother. And I want you to have a house with your daughter here in Modesto.
Amen.
But that's a different conversation.
Amen.
Hit the research, ride the wave, keep faith in God, nowhere else. Believe in the one true Alpha and Omega. And amen. Let him guide your steps.
Amen.
All right. So, guys, God bless you. Thank you so much. I know that we didn't hit everybody's comment, but either way, we appreciate you being here with us. We do this every single Tuesday. Maybe we're right about stuff. Maybe we're wrong about stuff. Maybe, we're just three average guys just talking, and we just happen to have a camera and mic on.
And an opinion.
Yeah, and that's it. But ultimately, guys, we love you. We love you in Christ. Continue to seek God, because that's the ultimate thing here. Regardless of what happens in this nation, your soul is the most important thing. Raising your family in the things of the Lord is the most important. The greatest thing you could ever do for your family, for your children, is to teach them about Jesus. There's nothing greater. I promise you there's nothing greater. Yes, everything else will fall in line. So anyways, with that being said, God bless you, and thank you so much. Every single Tuesday, put it on your calendar. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get the notifications.
Hit that like button.
All right. See you guys later.
Be blessed.
All right. There we go. Bam. And if you can mute the mic. No, up.